We're going to talk about Voyager Digital, which is a big-time crypto broker, also publicly traded in Canada. We're talking about the incremental update here that they've cut their daily withdrawal limit to $10,000, down from $25,000. But the big story here is that the ramifications of making a big old loan to Three Arrows Capital, they are rearing their ugly head. They saw their stock price tank about 60% yesterday in stock market trading. And now there are serious concerns from people in the street as to whether or not they can survive this crisis. Pretty crazy to see, but now again, we are seeing the ripple effects of Three Arrows Capital not being especially solvent at the moment. So I'm going to toss this straight to Will for his thoughts on the latest from Voyager. What's going on here, man? What's the deal?
I think Jen's back, right? Jen, you there?
Am I back? Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. There we go. We got Jen back. Okay. Everyone had like a little heart attack.
Thursday.
Welcome to the hash.
It was your
Jen.
shirt. Your shirt is so cute. It said you have to be muted.
It was like, it's too loud. Your
shirt.
voice is now muted. Gonna bring it all
I
down
love
a
it.
notch.
It's beautiful. I love your blouse. I had to say it.
Thank you.
It's better than the bookshelf background. You got to up your game. You got to get a staircase. That's all I'm saying. Okay, let's talk about Voyager Digital. Let's go back to the story. A little bit. I mean, that's what we do. Okay, let's talk about Voyager Digital, which is experiencing a lot of liquidity issues, and their stock is taking a pummeling because of that. They lost about $700 million to Three Arrows Capital. And what seems to be Three Arrows Capital basically taking people's money, high leverage trading it on long tokens, and then burning and exploding. It seems Voyager was loaning out a lot of money to Three Arrows Capital, and now they are on the short end of the stick. Of course, a lot of firms came out in this basically unscathed or doing okay. So Galaxy Digital was one firm that was able to get out of it, it seems. BlockFi was also able to get out of it. There was a few other firms that had loaned a lot of money to Three Arrows Capital and were able to get out by seizing collateral that they had on the books from Three Arrows. But that was not the case for every firm, right? So we see with Voyager Digital, they are stuck with nothing. And I know that Three Arrows Capital is trying to use some of the assets they still have on their books in order to get themselves out of the situation. But it's tough, right? Because what you have with Three Arrows Capital is basically two types of assets, either VC investments that are illiquid and not going to be worth anything for quite a while, or tokens that plunged in price so dramatically and so quickly that your collateral didn't become worth much unless you, for some reason, wanted to have that Bitcoin. Most people want dollars, though. So most people got the tokens, they got the assets off the books, and now Three Arrows Capital is left with this VC illiquid token or illiquid holdings in future startups that could be worth something one day, but that's not enough to appease stockholders for Voyager Digital right now. Zach, throwing it back up to you.
Yeah, you're also starting to see some, token lock schedules hitting crypto Twitter as to 3AC's holding. So it's going to be interesting to see if some of the tokens that they're holding see a dip in price when they become unlocked and are potentially sold to make up for some of these shortfalls elsewhere. So, I mean, when we're talking about Voyager here, this is no small chunk of change, right? They lent 3AC over 15,000 Bitcoin and 350 million in USDC, right? So it's something like present value of at least $600 million was lent to 3AC. Largely, I'd imagine, on the reputation of Three Arrows Capital being pretty sophisticated traders in the market. But I think what is being exposed now is that that's not necessarily the case. They're down bad, and these are some of the ripple effects that we're seeing play out across the industry. Voyager has long been pretty well established on the scene. They're getting some help from Alameda Research, which is linked to Sam Bankman-Fried. So they are bringing on some loans, some additional investment from outside players who are looking to shore things up. But it's going to be really interesting to see if this is a crisis of confidence from Voyager users who use the platform as a brokerage and as a crypto exchange. But it's going to be crazy to see how they right the ship here, if at all. Wendy, curious for your thoughts. I'm going to throw it your way. What do you see in here when you see this Voyager story?
It's all bad to me. It's kind of scary because we put a lot of trust into these centralized platforms because let's face it, we use these brokers, we use these exchanges as a great way to onboard and buy Bitcoin or whatever crypto asset you want. And we've now seen the effects of maybe trusting parties who weren't necessarily trustworthy. And it kind of just goes to show, I mean, I like Voyager and I use Voyager. And it's kind of a sad thing to watch. And I think you're going to see a lot of distrust, especially from retail investors. My TikTok mentions are, Wendy, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And we've talked about, the importance of self-custody, like owning your own keys, like how to do this. And now my audience is very, very much very interested in owning their own keys because they're starting to get a little bit nervous about keeping their capital on these exchanges. So I'm hoping that things get better, but at the same time, we need to note that they are going to probably be dumping on the open market when we do get these token unlocks because they're going to have to pay some of their creditors back. I'm reading some of the rumors on the internet, and supposedly there's you seeking legal help and whatnot, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to kind of sustain the market. And I think once we actually see them capitulate, that's when we'll see Bitcoin capitulate, and we'll start to actually move sideways for the remainder of the bear market.